Na 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 na.
Na 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 na.
Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye.
Hold up. It's the Chargers squad. Everything Los Angeles Chargers every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the City of Angels. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Chargers Squad Show, starting now.
Well, that was fun. Hello and welcome to the Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. I am Pete Fox, covering sports in LA dating back to 2007 for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio. Kenjon Barner, 10 years in the league, 3 rings, and David Droegemeier, who is sitting on a cloud right now, one half of the Locked On Chargers Daily podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. That was, again, the tale of two halves. So we're going to get into the difference between the first half and the second half. The Chargers running game, the Chargers defense, which had a chip on their shoulder, and playoffs? Yes, playoffs. Nothing is definite, but it is a, what did they say? 92% chance at this point for the Chargers, which I like those odds. I like them a lot. It's this game we usually start at the end, and I think that's a good place to start again. A 2-minute drill with the Chiefs is, generally speaking, an OS situation, right? They got the ball moving down the field. You're like, this doesn't feel good. But then Mahomes left the game with a hyperextended knee, and that made it feel a lot better. But Gardner Minshew had a couple of completions, and we're like, in the end, the defense came to play as they did last week, and primarily got this win for the Chargers. And I know Kenjon Barner has a lot to say about the game that Tony Jefferson played.
Listen, you're gonna lead this horse to water, and I'm gonna drink, because that's exactly where I wanted to start. And it's not even with his play. The ejection of Tony Jefferson was absolutely absurd, and I had to contain myself, and my blood was boiling, because at what point in time are we going to allow these guys to play football? At what point in time are we going to stop shielding and protecting offensive players and putting defensive players at risk because they have to control their tempo? They have to control their bodies. They have to stop while they're running full speed, make an adjustment, and try and make a quote unquote football play. It was utter BS. I don't know if I can curse on here, so I won't. Listen, Tony Jefferson was out there baptizing these guys in the name of traditional football. That's what he played like. He looked like a traditional old school safety coming downhill, instilling the fear of God in these receivers. Rashee Rice, you wanted no smoke during the game. But when it's a scuffle, you want to act tough. No, act tough between the lines and between the whistles. Not when you want to act tough and want to, no. Twice during this game, you was laid on your back. Once you laid there, and really you wanted to stop playing. Tony Jefferson played out of his mind, made play after play. One of the most heads-up plays of the game was early in that, I think it was maybe the first or second quarter. Tony Jefferson dropped into his zone coverage. It was 3rd down and maybe 3rd and 16, something like that. And matter of fact, I got it written down. Before I just get something wrong, let me go to it, because you know how I feel about Tony. Where are we at? Tony. Boom. It was on. It was a 4th down play, but Tony Jefferson left his zone area, ended up blitzing Mahomes, forcing him to make a bad play and holding him to just 3 points. Where if he doesn't, that was a heads-up IQ play by a true vet. And this is why you love having vets on your roster. A guy that understands the game of football, understands spatial awareness, understands that I have nobody here in this zone, and if I can get there fast enough, nobody will show up. So heads-up play by Tony. All game long, this dude came to play football, and we got to let these dudes play football. We got to stop trying to take football out of football. You guys kicked him out of that game because of how of a physical factor he was in this game. It wasn't because of that one hit. It was because he was a nightmare to the Kansas City Chiefs.
100%. There's could not back you more. It is absolutely ridiculous. After earlier in the game, he smokes Rashee Rice and with the absolutely beautiful form tackle.
Yes.
And it's just, I think because that hit was so violent, even though it was a legal hit, I think that definitely played into the calculus of that decision later on, because how are you going to eject him after one unnecessary roughness penalty? I think that's ridiculous from the league. I think that I completely agree with the fact that you have to let these guys play football. Like, it's December. Like, this is where the teams who are going to make it to the end rise to the top, and this is where you want them to actually go play and earn it. And if you're over officiating the game, you're taking the genuine goodness of what the game is out of it. And I just don't like that. I can't stand that. Tony was an enforcer. He played with that energy and violence from the very beginning, Kenyon.
And a jump. David, one second, Pete. The call, it wasn't even the refs. The call came from New York. New York made the call to get him out of there. Like, and forgot the receiver went into a fetal position. Like, put him at fault. Like, again, let me control my mouth, but don't turn into a soft individual and go into a fetal position because you see a hit coming. That's not Tony Jefferson's fault. Let me digress.
No, those are valid points. And it did feel like, that third call was based on not just that play in a vacuum. I mean, it was what he had been doing throughout the game. And that's probably the most egregious part of it, because when you saw that one where he decleated Rice in real time, you're like, whoa. I mean, that was one where if you were looking somewhere else on the screen at a different part, like your attention was immediately drawn to that play. It was such a physical hit. But then in slow-mo, it was a clean form tackle, right? It didn't look nearly as bad on the replay as it did in real time. But that's unfortunate. The refereeing in this game, there's a handful of times when we were like, that was the wrong call. One of them went in favor of the Chargers, where Cam Hart got away with one early in the second. Mm-hmm. That was a big time PI that they did not call
for sure.
That worked out. That would have changed the tone of this game in a big way. Yeah. Because I think they score a touchdown there, and that puts them up 14-3, and that was a big thing. So we'll take it, right? I don't care.
For how many years have we been watching Kansas City get all these phantom ghost calls out of nowhere?
Yeah, amen.
You know what I'm saying? So
since Patrick joined the league,
you know what I'm saying? So sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. Sometimes you don't get dealt the winning hand. And it's about time that somebody was able to get away with something outside of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, it's a fair point. The big part of the tale of two halves in this game was the over dependence on the running game in the first half, and I thought it was going to ultimately cost them, but it didn't. It was a creative way of getting through the first half. They stuck with it. They kept trying to do it. Not a lot of throwing the ball. And then in the second half, they come out and just flip the script, start throwing the ball. And again, David, we see it kind of week after week after week. We just don't know what these guys are going to bring to the table. And today they got back into what we like to see from them in the second half, a nice balanced attack.
Yeah, well, I think they had protection issues in the first half that they had to try to get figured out. Justin was under a lot of duress, and they had to run the ball, and I think that was absolutely by design to start out the football game. They wanted to try to get into the flow of the game, make sure that they got some positive yardage. They controlled the clock. They kept the ball away from the Chiefs. I think that was definitely intentional in nature. But the cover, like the protection was not allowing them to, or allowing Justin to really make any plays. And I think in the second half, they fixed that, and they fixed that with better protection, just them playing better, but also schematically, they were getting the ball out of Justin Herbert's hands a lot quicker. Go figure, that actually works. I wonder why. That's because it's really good football, and you just should use it more often. And they did. When they went to that, and oh, by the way, like, I can't believe it, Kenyon, but they actually called a screen. It's something I have not seen at all this season. And it was really successful. 16 yards gained on that play. I remember distinctly because we haven't seen a lot of screens this year, but second half adjustments with the protection, with the schematics was the reason why they were able to come back, score 10 unanswered points, and take the lead and ultimately win the football game.
I'll even go a little bit further than the second half. Pete, we've all talked about this, and I probably beat this dead horse till you can't beat it anymore, being one-dimensional. And I think for the first 29 minutes and 18 or so seconds of that first half, they were a one-dimensional team, right? Heavily relying on the run game. Up until that last 40 to 45 seconds of that last drive going in right before half, this team was strictly run, but then you've seen the pass game open up. You've seen Trey, you've seen KLS, you've seen us start to pass the ball in these spots where we needed to, and it looked great. It came alive. But to you guys' points, in the second half, you've seen a well-balanced attack. You've seen Herbert be able to somewhat get comfortable in the pocket, make some throws, deliver the ball, make some great throws, and some guys make some great catches. So this was, again, the tale of two halves, but I would even go right. It started right on that last scoring drive right before the half.
Yeah, that was huge. That was, big.
And it was all the rookies on that entire drive. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, you're good.
On that entire drive was all the rookies because it was KLS with the big 40-plus yard return.
Yes.
Then it was Trey Harris with the fantastic catch on the sideline. And then it was KLS again with the touchdown in the end zone. So that entire drive was engineered by the 2025 Chargers wide receiver draft class.
Second catch of the season for him, first touchdown. So that was huge for KLS to get that at that point with under a minute on the clock. I mean, that's absolutely a tide-turning drive for them to score a touchdown right there. And then Justin Herbert, or Jim Harbaugh, rather, comes out of the locker room. I always like to pay attention to what he says. We need our best half of the season right now. That's an accurate description, I think, of what they got, pretty close anyway. It was a damn good half for sure. The defense, the offense, everything that they brought to the table in that second half makes you forget about what you saw in the first half, aside from that last drive just before the break, pretty quickly. It is the Locked On Chargers squad show. The Chargers 16-13 over the Chiefs, sending the Chiefs packing. They are making Cabo plans right now, getting the golf clubs shined up, getting ready for Vacacione. They will not be in the playoffs for the first time in 11 years, courtesy of the LA Chargers. First time sweeping them since 2013. Huge day for the Chargers and their fans. We'll take our first break, come back. It's the Locked On Chargers squad show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. All right, today's episode of the Locked On Chargers Squad Show is brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are here, which means, if you haven't gotten up your Christmas decorations, it's time to get some out. That's how I felt. I spent so much time putting up the lights because I did those permanent lights that I didn't put anything up in the house. So we had some friends over last night. I got out some Christmas decorations. One of the things that's up all the time is our Aura frame. And if you want something meaningful as a gift to give to somebody, personal, guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura frames is the answer. It's the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap. It's a way to share memories because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before getting it. So when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. The Aura frame that we have, you can upload pictures to it from live. Like you're at an event and something's happening and you want to send it to the frame, you can do that. I don't do a lot of that, but I do enjoy when my wife and daughter-in-law do, and I get to see pictures of the grandkids and my daughter, and it's one of those things when I come down the stairs, it's there and I see it and I react to it every day. It just puts a smile on your face. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off the best-selling Carver matte frame named #1 by Wirecutter by using the promo code Locked On at checkout. The Aura frame, AURA frames.com, promo code Locked On. This deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast, so order yours now. To get in time for the holidays, support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. 10th win of the season for the Chargers, 3 in a row. During the week, David, we talked about whether or not that overtime win against the Eagles could help the Chargers create a different kind of momentum that we've seen from them all year, turning the corner, if you will, of this team to say, hey, we have to downshift into a different gear because the playoffs are right around the corner, and this is the time for us. Big win over the Eagles, bigger win over the Chiefs to put them in a very favorable spot for the playoffs. When you think back to a week ago and that overtime win, because the defense, to me, came with the same sort of energy almost throughout this entire game. How much of that comes from what they gained confidence-wise against the Eagles?
Yeah, I think that definitely played a big factor in it because in that game, there's not a lot of people out there that was expecting the Chargers to be able to go blow for blow with the Eagles defensively, and the Chargers absolutely did that and more. I mean, they had Jalen Hurts in absolute hell all game long, picked him off 4 times, turned him over 5 times, and just really made life really, really hard for that offense. And I think they've been doing it. And I just really love the fact that they're doing it against the better teams in the league, because now that comes with the credit and the credibility that's when this comes, when you do this against these type of opponents and these type of offenses, these type of quarterbacks that you see perennially in the playoffs every single year. This was a monumental defensive performance. Getting an interception in the red zone was absolutely incredible. Deion Henley ran that route, was running it better than the receiver did. It was spectacular. The way he was able to track that and bring that in and make sure he stayed in bounds, spectacular. And then, of course, the one at the end with Derwin James covering Travis Kelce. And honestly, I think that might be the last time we see Derwin James and Travis Kelce go one-on-one, because I firmly believe, and I've said it before and I'll say it here now, I think this is going to be the last season that Travis Kelce plays football. And I think he's going to go right off into the sunset with his soon-to-be billionaire wife, which, hey, a phenomenal career, one of the best ever. These matchups between Derwin and Travis Kelce have always been appointment television. This one was no different. He got his, and Derwin definitely got his, and I think Derwin got the last laugh.
Hey, KB, did it pop into your head in the final minutes that it's okay, we're just going to get another interception and end this? Because it did to me. It popped into my head. Like, we're just going to end this with an interception. That's what we do now.
It didn't pop in my head. For me, it was just like, let's just play solid defense and let's get these guys off the field.
Still some trauma there.
Yeah, a turnover would be great. You always think that, right? Hey, let's get a turnover. But to say that, in my mind, I was like, oh, we about to get one. I wasn't thinking that. I understand who Minshew is. I've watched him play, had the opportunity to play against him. He's a capable quarterback, but to come into a game like that in that time frame and expect to be able to go out there and do something, it's hard to ask, right? That's a hard ask. But he came in, was effective on a couple of passes, but ultimately this defense did what this defense has done all season long, and that's rise to the occasion, make the play that needs to be made, and in this game. But to your point, David, about Travis Kelce, when I seen Pat Mahomes go down, that was the thought that I had, because now you're so far into the season and you pray that it's not anything serious.
Of course.
But we all know what certain injuries look like. We've all seen them. We've all seen the gruesome injuries. So we know what it looks like when something may not be on the positive end. And so when I seen that and I seen the replay, my mind, it immediately went to Travis Kelce and saying, this might be the last ride. This just might be, because who knows when Pat Mahomes will be back, right? You're so late into the year. You have nowadays guys come back fast, but you got about 6 to 8 month recovery. So,
and also, what's the incentive, right? I mean, they're done. They're out. The Chargers eliminated them. So, like, if there's any concern with him long term, you don't push it. You obviously take it to the off season and let him get the maximum amount of time to heal. And as the broadcast told us, he was going into this game less than 100% to begin with. So this might have been one of those things where, unfortunately, something that was already bothering him ended up turning into something that could potentially be a little more catastrophic.
This took me back, you saying that, and reminded me of what those broadcasters say, that we're going to go to college for a second, but we're going to come right back to the Chargers and right back to the Chiefs, I promise. But I remember Dennis Dixon for the Oregon Ducks in 2007, that 07-08 season, was the Heisman front runner. Oregon looked like they were going to be the national championship team. Dennis ended up tweaking his knee a game before and came out and played that next game and completely tore his ACL, and their season went downhill from that. So, but that put me in the mind frame of you saying that oftentimes when guys come into these games and already have pre-existing injuries, there's always the risk of making it worse. And oftentimes trainers in these locker rooms will tell you, oh, you can't make it worse. It can't get any worse. You'll be all fine. We'll just tape it up and get you out there. You hope that wasn't the case, right? But then you also understand the competitor that Pat Mahomes is. If he can, he will. And so, yeah, man, just a very unfortunate play for a dude who has been, the golden child of the NFL and has rightfully so earned that spot.
If that's not an ACL, I'd be very, very surprised.
Yeah.
It's an ACL strain at the very worst. And as you said, David, there's no reason to rush him back from that. And sometimes that's worse than tearing it. But the ACL is all about mobility. And if you've got the mobility, get out there and run around. But when that knee bends the other way, having had an ACL reconstructive surgery, that's one of those ones that makes me cringe. When I see that, I'm like, yeah. I jump, and my wife always goes, what? I'm like, did you see his knee bend the wrong way? So that's what I did there. I'm like, oh, that's tough. And as much as I wanted to text a bunch of Chiefs fans, I didn't. I took the high road. They go
to be the bigger man.
Yeah, exactly. 16-13, the final today. The defense, I don't throw this term around because I sound weird when I say it, but you could pick 5 guys, if not more, that balled out today in a very big way. Derwin James atop the list. Denzel Perryman, Tony Jefferson, in spite of getting ejected. Odafe Owe, 3 TFL. Sorry. Tui Pelote with a couple of sacks. Owe had 2 sacks. I mean,
I thought Khalil Mack played really good football too,
played
securing the edge and getting after the quarterback as well. I thought, he's always good, but he definitely showed up as well.
That's something that we haven't talked about in a while, guys. I love it when things come up and that we were sick of talking about 4 or 5 weeks ago. The securing of the edge against the opposition's running game. There was week after week we would talk about how come they cannot secure the edge, and anybody that runs to the outside against the Chargers defense pretty much has a untouched 10-yarder at a minimum. They have definitely stepped up in that department, and that is good to see. So look, all in all, we have to be extremely excited about where things are going with this team defensively, because I think it's kind of their calling card, right? As much as the offense is great, the defense is what's going to win games for this team.
Football is a game of you want to be peaking at the right time. You want to be at your best when it counts the most. And as you look at this defense over the course of the last 3-4 games, it's been a constant build. And you look at what they did today. There was one point in time during this game where Pat Mahomes had 19 dropbacks. He was sacked 4 times, had 16 hurries, and was knocked down 4 times. This is a defense who held the Kansas City Chiefs running game to under 3 yards a carry, and held this offense who you're accustomed to seeing these explosive plays to just 5 yards per play.
Dominated.
This was a dominant performance by this defense. And Pete, we asked the question on the midweek show, could this defense continue to show up and show out the way that they have? And they answered that question. And I think they answered it better than either any of us that were on that show could have used words to describe it. They came out and they showed you better than they could tell you. This was an absolute dominant performance, and a performance that's needed as you continue to get closer to the end of this season and knowing that you have the playoffs right on the horizons.
What I say here, I've said on my show, is I can see and tell immediately if they're playing with that requisite violence that's required to have success playing defense in the NFL from the very first series. You can tell whether they're showing up or they're not. They absolutely showed up from the very beginning, and that carried itself throughout this ball game until that clock hit 000. The Chargers defense showed up in a massive way, and this is only going to have this entire football team, not just the defense, brimming with confidence that they can show up on the road in an early window game and win and dominate throughout from beginning to end. The Chargers didn't have the lead in the beginning, but when they took it, they never relinquished it, and the Chargers defense kept them in the game and ultimately won them the game.
Yeah.
Make no mistake, this is one of the best defenses in the NFL, and unfortunately, it may mean that our marriage with Jesse Minter might be short-lived.
Coming to an end.
Yeah, if you have a teenager that doesn't understand the word polarizing and they like football, show them the Jacksonville game and then show them this game.
Yeah.
And then say, these are polarizing performances by the defense. They are 100% the opposite of each other. And that's what to me, this felt like, there was, and again, sometimes we get a little bit overreactive, middle of the season. I did it with the Dodgers all season long when they were losing to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I was like, that can't happen. And we look at this Charger team and we go, this offensive line is such a liability. There's no way. But speaking of that offensive line, that's another thing it's not great, but it is definitely effective. They're getting better. And they started to figure it out. Rushing Penning in and out kind of 50% of the time. That's working. I don't know about Penning in the route. Here's my thought on putting Penning in motion and throwing the ball. It's creative. I like that aspect of it. It's trying something different. We always want that. So I like that. But how did you guys feel about that play when you saw that?
I wasn't mad at it. I wasn't mad at it. Like, obviously, you want to get creative. Penning just needs to work on his acting a little bit more. You got to sell that run block a little bit longer. I think he got a little bit too excited, a little too antsy. Big fellas don't get the opportunity to get out there and run routes. So for him to be right there, the touchdown, he could smell the end zone. So I understand the excitement, but you got to be a little bit more patient.
I love it though, man. I mean, obviously, if it works, you're an absolute genius. If it doesn't, then you're not, right? So it's always that situation where, this is the best play that you can come up with is an offensive lineman going out on a route in the red zone. Like, I can see both sides of it. But for me, I think, just to parlay off that, to talk about Scott Matlock, early in the game, Scott Matlock was catching a pass and was trying to shake left and right.
Doing?
And I was like,
what are you doing?
What are you doing, bro? You are 300 plus pounds. The only thing you should be doing is going north. That is it. North and south, no left or right, brother. What are you doing? And I think that message got across because the other receptions that he got, he was going straight forward. And what do you know? He was picking up positive yardage. So, don't ever do that again, Scott. Okay? Learn your lesson.
Can you guys see that? That's my note early in the first half. Matlock on second down. What are you doing? If you don't lower your pads and go get that first down.
Yeah, and he could have had it easily if he would have just went forward.
What are you juking for? That's not who you are. That's not
ridiculous.
In your repertoire.
Hey, we're all a juker on the inside. Hey, KP, answer this question for me. Is this guy right or wrong? Because I don't think he is. I don't think I threw in the towel after the Jags game. I was just as mad as everybody else. Pete threw in the Charger towel after the Jags game. He ain't no fan. If Pete played for the NFL, he would be a scrub. Hey, dude, I'll take it. I don't think a lot of people could make it to the NFL. So you're right. I probably
there's only one person that's played in the NFL on this panel right here, and that's Kenjon Barner over there with a couple of Super Bowl rings. So
what is it?
That ain't us. Make no mistake.
Happy to be a scrub. I'll take it.
What is it? JB, as some, y'all been coming at my guy all season long, dating back to last year. We all felt the way after that Jags game. We all had negative comments about this team.
Definitely.
And the coaching staff and the way that they played. We all were on the other side of where the Chargers are now, right?
No love lost.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys were as fans as well. So let's not throw stones if we live in a glass house. Yeah. Let's not do that. And then with the comment as far as if he was in the NFL, he would be a scrub. Listen, only the top 1% play in the NFL.
Right.
So if Pete would be a scrub, I'm not sure you would be in that 1% neither, my brother. So, let's call a spade and keep it a buck.
Yeah,
We all make comments on here. We all say things on here. We're not always correct. But at the end of the day, this is what we're here for. We're here to give you guys information, make calls on the games, give you guys, entertainment, and sometimes we're off. So just enjoy it. Come here, be a part of it, and let's just have fun with it, baby.
I am full belief that the best position in the NFL is backup quarterback.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's definitely true. I mean, getting paid millions to hold a clipboard. Like,
right,
my goodness.
exactly. Stand there with the Apple iPod in your hand or whatever it is.
Peach, you brought up the offensive line of the Chargers.
Yeah.
I want to say this is the first game this season where it felt like and looked like the Chargers finally had a break and had the opportunity to play like the other teams have played against us all season long versus Kansas City offensive line. I think you ended up with 5 sacks in this game. Yep. If I'm correct, you ended up with 5 sacks. You were able to blitz the quarterback, rush the quarterback, and you were able to do it effectively with just your front. You didn't have to commit the Kansas City Chiefs had to commit almost their entire defense to rushing Justin Herbert. Even though our offensive line is as bad as it is, it didn't require us to do that. And so this was the first time for me where I'm like, damn, it feels good to be able to pin our ears back and play football the way every other team has played against us all season long.
Yeah, that was the second half thing, though. The first half, Justin Herbert had to do his normal jump up in the pocket, try to scramble.
No, he's talking about on defense, Pete. He's talking about on defense.
I'm talking about our defense versus the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line.
Gotcha.
Right? They looked like what we had been complaining about all season long earlier in the year, where obviously you lose your right tackle. You have different guys coming in, but we got to give this offensive line of the Chargers some credit, right? You lose your starting left tackle before the season even gets going. Then you lose your starting right tackle, who you move to left tackle in the middle of the season. Then you have Mekhi Becton in and out of the lineup. You're playing musical chairs all season long, but yet this team is still sitting at 10-4. So as bad as and as much as we harped on this offensive line, they have still found a way, regardless of how many sacks they give up, to show up and win games. So it ain't always pretty, but hey, we get it done.
It definitely wasn't 70% pressure rate, right? Like it was against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think we all saw that, right? Yeah, it was definitely ugly in the first half, but I think as far as the protection was concerned, but it got better. But the pass rush, it was on go from the very beginning, and I loved it. Odafe Owe, his athleticism, his length to be able to chase after Patrick Mahomes, and Tuli Tuipulotu, his just beautiful combination of speed and power and his ability to really transfer one to the other. Like, they were absolutely ferocious, and they were making life hell, but they did that because they were also able to have that coverage on the back end marry up, and Patrick Mahomes was having to hold on to the ball a little bit longer because there wasn't really very many places to put the football.
Yeah, you don't hear offensive linemen get mentioned by the broadcasters very specifically all that often, but Jamari Salyer got shouted out during that one when he made a crack out block, and Omarion Hampton ripped off about a 15-yarder there because of a nice block from Salyer. And he's been good ever since he stepped in there, and that's nice to see because he has been a bit of an answer to a question that we have been asking for quite a few.
He's been a savior, quite frankly.
Yeah. So,
but that's where he started, right? Yeah. That's his normal position. You've been using him at everything except what he came into the league doing.
And he saved your season in his rookie season when Rashawn Slater went out and he had to play left tackle. He played well enough to get them there, and guess what? He's doing it again. So huge hats off to Jamari Salyer for bringing some stabilization to this offensive line. And yes, it has looked a whole lot better, especially in that second half. They really got cooking.
Yeah.
JB is mad at us.
Don't be mad, JB. Don't be mad, brother.
Hey, celebrate, bro. We just did something that hasn't been done or we haven't seen in a decade.
He says we're crazy if we're not entitled to our comments, but he's not entitled to his. We're giving you your comments, JB. You're just can't put them on the screen.
JB, listen, out of all the flavors in the world, you choosing to be salty right now. Don't do that, baby. Don't do that.
Let's celebrate, man. It's a big day. It's a momentous day.
All right, when we come back, we're going to dive into the numbers a little bit more specifically, Herbert's numbers, the running back game, and a little bit more from the offensive side of things. We spent a lot of time here breaking down the defensive side of things, so we'll talk offensive Chargers football and a 16-13 win over the Chiefs, sending them packing and giving the Chargers a 93% chance of getting to the playoffs. It's the Locked On Chargers Squad Show. We come on right after the game and break it down. Don't forget, Monday through Friday, David and Daniel give you an in-depth look as to what is going on in the Charger universe. Monday through Friday on the Locked On Daily Chargers Squad Show, or Daily Chargers podcast anyway. Today's episode of the Locked On Chargers Squad Show is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. And when you're a fan, knows what's going on with the team, like the guys that come in here and talk about the game when it is over, that gives you an advantage on people that don't pay very close attention. And sometimes that is the odds makers, by the way. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. Like if you know, like we know that the Chargers have been making big time adjustments in the locker room and coming out with a different attitude in the second half, you look at the game differently. Remember, coming into this one, Chargers were 4.5-point dogs. That was a big number that I was like, what? That's crazy. Live betting is the best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, and the momentum flips after a turnover. So if you want to jump in, get in on the action, go to FanDuel.com and place your live bets all season long. Don't forget, download the app. It's a lot easier and more convenient. FanDuel.com to find the app and tell them we sent you, the Locked On Chargers Squad Show. FanDuel, the game moves fast, so you can too. All right. Yes. As we said, Chargers 16-13, eliminating the Chiefs, and they've won 3 in a row. Things are moving in the right direction, and 6 of their last 7, I think, is a bigger number to focus in on as they get ready for the Cowboys. But today, interceptions aplenty, sacks aplenty. Justin Herbert, 210 yards. Not quite as much run game as we got from him against the Eagles, which I like to see. He ran a little bit, 2 times, no gains there because they just bottled him up. He wanted to run more, I think, but just wasn't able to. But 19 of 29, 210 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Let's just be generic about it and grade this performance. David, you go first.
Yeah, I think after the pressure that we saw early on and the adjustments that were made later on, he definitely got better to me as the game went on. I think it definitely started at like a C-, and then I think it definitely elevated to me throughout the game in the third quarter, especially in the fourth quarter. Justin Herbert always seems to, show up in the fourth quarter when the game's on the line and, when those minutes and those throws are the most important and they are magnified the most. So I think it turned into like a B+ performance for me for bringing that Chargers team back, getting enough points to be able to take the lead and take the win.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I give it a B+ as well. B+ right on the fringe of that A- area. There was one play when you talk about that third quarter. It was third quarter at the 120 mark on 3rd and 6 where we gave up the sack to Hicks, where we motioned Vidal out to the 3 receiver side and he pumped it and tried to take off running. In my opinion, that was one of his bad plays of the game. I don't know if he could throw it, but he should have, because when you motion Vidal out, it now becomes a numbers game, right? You throw that ball if we have the numbers. And for the Chargers, you had 4 guys for their 3 defenders. So in my mind, that's a no-brainer. You have to throw that pass and give yourself an opportunity to get that first down, which I think we would have got. But outside of that, the interception that he threw that came off of getting hit. Herbert's performing well. He's performing despite not being able to use that left hand the way that we would like him to be able to use it. So, kudos to him.
Yeah, the passing game was clicking in the fourth. They were driving the ball down the field, and all of a sudden you turn your head and they had to punt. I was kind of like, wait a second, that drive looked so smooth that it should have ended in a touchdown, but it did not. That was the drive, I believe, that Herbert threw the ball kind of Patrick Mahomes style, falling down
Yeah, yeah,
sideways. Yeah.
Without his knee going down.
Round. That was a fantastic play to get
Pretty
rid of
crazy.
that ball.
Yeah.
And to be completely forthright and frank, yes, JB, I did pick the Chiefs in this game most of the week, but then at the very end, Jim and Kenjon changed my.
We won him over.
I was going to say I was wrong, and I did change my opinion prior to kick. So
Yeah.
I predicted a 30. What I say, 35-24 is what I predicted.
Yeah.
So not quite the game that I thought it would be after my opinion was changed. But hey, that's what we do here. We base our opinions on what we know, and I know that the Chargers are inconsistent.
Yeah.
But I had hoped that we would get what we got, and that's the end result, and that's all that matters. Really, is that they were able to contain and continue rather the momentum from that win over the Eagles, and I think that was a huge turning point for them. Let's hope they keep it rolling and just wind this season down with 3 big victories over the Cowboys, the Texans, and the Broncos, who are
division.
Yeah, that would be great. And more
Reap it.
importantly, David, we were talking about this the midweek show, that a win over the Broncos, which may not mean anything to the Broncos, could be the first time ever that the Chargers have swept the division. That would be huge.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they got to do what they got to do today was a distinct honor, and I know it's got to be a euphoric feeling to be able to not only send your division rivals, the Kansas City Chiefs, home, but eliminate them from playoff contention. To have that feeling, to be able to enjoy that's got to be so euphoric after how they've dominated this division the last 9 straight years, almost a full entire decade. And now the Chargers have everything they want in front of them. It's an unbelievable feeling, and I just want everybody to enjoy it. Take a second and appreciate this, because this is what the Chargers brought Jim Harbaugh in to do. You came in to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid, and ultimately you brought him in to end that dynasty and start one of your own. This hopefully is the beginning of that journey of going to where they've never been before, which is hopefully to a Super Bowl championship.
Omarion Hampton, 15 carries, 61 yards. Kamani Vidal, 12 for 33. Most of that coming in the first half, but in the second half, they started to have more balanced attack. And I thought Omarion Hampton looked better than last week, and that's what we would expect. The fact that I thought the way that they kind of integrated him back into the game plan coming off the injury last week was pretty spot on. They didn't overload him. They didn't give him too much. And then a little bit more this week. And that was nice to see from a receiving standpoint. Rondé Gadsden 4 for 61. I was surprised, as everyone else was, that he was able to pull in that duck from Justin Herbert. But I don't know that I was that surprised that he was able to throw it. They're like, I've never seen anyone throw a ball that hard that was not spinning. But that was a nice play, a nice catch there from Gadsden. 4 for 61. Trey Harris 3 for 49. Keenan 5 for 36. 2 catches for Ladd, doubling up last week. I'm still seeing Ladd McConkey open a lot, guys. What's going on there where he's open and Herbert's not looking at him or not throwing it to him, even if he is looking at him? I don't love that. Is he losing confidence in him a little bit?
I don't want to say that, but you got to understand that the offense is about progressions, and it's about where you're at in that progression. So Ladd could be open, but he could be open before Herbert is ready to get there. Ladd is a great route runner. So that is a small possibility that he's open, but he's open too soon. And again, we're not in the locker room. We don't know their playbook. We don't know where he's at in the progression on these plays. He could be the third. We don't know. But the game of offense is about the progression. I'm starting to my right, I'm working to my left. When I'm starting to my left, working to my right. So, we don't know, but I know for a fact that it's not a confidence thing, because you would have no reason to lose confidence in Ladd because he's done nothing for you to do that. You lose confidence in a guy when he's dropping balls, he's not running the right routes, he's not open on time, he's not getting open, all that type of stuff. And Ladd's done none of that. He's done everything except that. He's been great since he's got here, and he's continued to be that through the season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of mouths to feed too on the offense, right? Like,
lot.
I think I definitely wanted to, and this was one of my keys on the show was like, I want to get Aranda Gadsden the second involved early and often in this game, and I think there was a more concerted effort of that. Also, you had the rookies that were able to step up for you today with Trey Harris and Keandre Lambert-Smith. And even Ladd, when he got his opportunities, he made the most of it. He broke that tackle and gained another probably 8-9 yards on that play. There's no reason to lose confidence in Ladd. We all know who he is, what he's capable of. He is one of the best receivers in the league to me, one of the best young receivers. And I think it's just honestly another hat tip to Joe Ortiz for finding value throughout the draft, both defensively and offensively, getting guys when, you have your one of your former first round picks, Quentin Johnston, inactive for this game, that you can say, hey, Trey Harris, here's your opportunity. Let's see what you can do with it. And hey, Keandre Lambert-Smith, I know you've been inactive for a while, but now it's your time. And they took that opportunity and they made the most of it. And they made very important catches that helped the Chargers win this football game. So again, hat tip to Joe Ortiz for finding phenomenal value up and down the draft in both of the drafts he's been able to put together.
Yeah, that's a huge confidence builder for KLS to get that first touchdown. He had a good day returning kicks, KB, 493 yards. But more than anything, my question is, what can you say about a young player that's not getting a lot of time on the field, but just keeps their head down and keeps grinding and keeps working? Because that's what it seems like KLS and Trey Harris both are doing. Trey Harris is getting a little bit more activity, more action than KLS, but when he gets out there, he's ready to play. And that's just got to be huge, because this game is all about reps. And when you're not getting them, it's hard. So to be able to come through in a big spot like that, to me is really, really important.
This is the sign of a guy that's surrounded by true vets, right? That's helping him, that's keeping him locked in, because as a rookie, especially in this day and age of the NFL football, where the season is way longer than your college season, this is the sign that you're surrounded by the right guys. But not only is it a credit to the vets in the room, this is a credit to KLS himself and Trey himself. The fact that you are taking the time to stay locked in, regardless of the reps that you're not getting. You're still staying keyed in on the game plan. You're still staying ready so you don't have to get ready, because at the end of the day, if you have to get ready for a moment like this, there's a chance that it's too late. And so this is just a tale of a dude that is being a true professional. And that's all you hear about when it comes to coaches. Be a professional. Be a professional. And that means studying your playbook, being on time, coming to work every day. And when your number is called, going out there and executing. I said this a couple episodes back. Don't count your reps, just make them count.
Yeah, man.
And that's exactly what KLS and Trey are doing this season.
Yeah, no doubt. That's cool for the youngsters to get in on the action, be a part of it this late in the season in a very, very meaningful game.
Yeah.
Everything is going in the right direction, to be sure, especially from the offensive line standpoint, which has been something that there's not a lot to criticize in this game. The offensive line played well. The defensive line played fantastic.
It's a little bit to criticize. I got some things.
We got a few more minutes to kill. I'm trying to be positive.
Obviously, you want to focus on the positivity. But for me, I'm a running back, so I'm really keyed in on those guys, right? We have to be better in pass protection.
Yeah.
There's a lot of free hitters coming in the game. We're not in this playbook, so I don't know their protection schemes, but I understand football and the common sense aspects of the games. And there are a few plays in this game where Omarion Hampton, I think he missed secondary defenders coming. He got caught up in making a play action fake, missed some guys coming off the edge, specifically early and on the Jalen Watson sack. He didn't scan back. Kamani Vidal gave up a sack when he got beat by Treadwell on the inside, where if you stay strong, it was on the interception, not a sack. I'm sorry. The interception where I think, is it Treadwell? Tranquil? Am I calling his name correctly?
Yeah, Drew Tranquil, the
Drew Tranquil,
linebacker. Yeah.
Yeah, where he impacted. It wasn't the first guy that came free. It was Tranquil that actually made contact and forced Herbert into that interception. Whereas if you're strong inside hand and you're sitting strong in there, that doesn't necessarily happen. Herbert's able to get that off, but we have to be able to recognize where our secondary threats are. And I didn't see that at a high clip today. And you have to be better at that, because what you put on film and you fail at, everybody's going to start to come with that more and more and more, because you're showing that you can't do it. And until you show that you can, it's going to show up. But while you're talking about the bad, right, you got to acknowledge the good. And for Kamani Vidal going right before the half, the pass that Herbert was able to get off to Ladd on, I think it was the right-hand side of the field, Kamani came and absolutely smacked that defender square in the mouth, stayed strong. So it's not that they can't do it. Protecting as a running back is all about vision. And knowing where my main guy is, whether it's the Mike, the Sam, or the Will, whoever it is, that's my number one. But then I have to locate all secondary threats after that, because that's what I'm responsible for. So it's about getting your eyes right and just being able to be in position and be on time.
To be fair, David, he's done pretty good. Not great, but he's done a pretty good job lately of doing exactly what KB is criticizing today. So he's definitely capable. He just didn't have a day today in that department.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think he was all bad. Like, he missed a couple of assignments for sure. Yeah. Omarion still, has some things to work on in that department. But as I mentioned earlier, I do feel like everything improved later on in the game. Like, they got a lot better. And I think it started with that last drive just before halftime where they were able to put that touchdown drive together. Kind of since that drive, they were a lot better at being able to protect Justin Herbert as an overall protective unit. And I think Trevor Penning was involved in that a lot, being used as an extra blocker, extra offensive lineman. Will Dissly in there, with his pass protection ability. It took that full effort, and we saw it, and we finally saw some decent protection. And Justin Herbert can dice up anybody if he has just a little bit of time. And I think, you saw that little bit of time show up, and you saw the throws that were able to happen as a result.
Well, I'm going to take partial credit for this win because, JB, the reason I picked the Chiefs was just a reverse psychology thing, right? Because I was like, I'm going to pick the Chiefs, and then when the Chargers win, I'm going to feel even better, right? Because that's a win-win when you pick the other team and then your team wins. So I apologize for picking the Chiefs. I have picked the Chargers every other week this season, and I had been wrong, obviously, 4 times. So that's football. But a beautiful win today. We're all feeling very good. A lot of people in the chat are just like this guy, Joe. I'm so happy.
As you should be. I think all Chargers fans are happy. This is a team that's absolutely kicked your head in for years. Yeah. And you finally get your lick back.
This is exercising some demons, man. Like, this is a team that has had your number for years and years and years. And so to be able to have this, to be in this position, to beat them, to sweep them, and eliminate them from the playoffs, it has to feel like exercising some demons for a lot of Charger fans out there. Like, this is an incredible feeling. It's really hard to put into words because the Chargers haven't been here a lot. They haven't been in this position a lot. And so, to sit here at 10-4 after going 11-6 last year with a much more difficult schedule, I think, we have to sit here and appreciate everything that the Chargers have done, the resilience that they've shown with the injuries that they've had to go through on offense. It's spectacular. It's a great coaching performance. My hat's off to Jim Harbaugh and his entire staff for, bouncing back from the ugly losses and coming back here and getting 2 unbelievably important, monumental wins in the month of December to put yourself in position to go get a ticket to the dance.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the Dodgers 2 years ago going into the playoffs, and their starting rotation was absolutely decimated. And they figured out a way with bullpen games. And, granted, they rolled the Yankees. It wasn't close. They did it in a variety of different ways. But nobody thought that they could do that because they had no starting pitchers. So when you look at this Charger team, it reminds me of that a little bit, that they figured out the resiliency, as you said, David. That's the right word, to figure out, to be creative, to keep grinding, to just not give up, to say, look, we're not dead yet, and get these wins and turn wins. This is the biggest thing for me. Turn wins against bad teams into wins against good teams. Because I said this a few weeks ago. the Chargers are good against bad teams, but bad against good teams. Not anymore. After these last 2 wins, they beat, well, the Chiefs are not necessarily a good team, but
they were favored in this game, though.
The
they were favored in this game.
That's a lot. Exactly. So you could throw the records out the window for sure. So 2 big wins back to back, and why not make it 3 as the Cowboys come up next week? Early window in Dallas as the Chargers look for 7 of 8 and 4 in a row. And that would, I believe, if they're at 93% right now, a win against the Cowboys would solidify.
Oh yeah, that's a wrap.
A playoff berth. It would also help if the Packers continued to take care of business against the Broncos. Broncos just grabbed a 7-6 lead, so it's a ball game. Halfway through the second. That's where we are. You guys have any final thoughts? Off to celebrate? Is that what we're doing? Can we celebrate? No, not yet. I don't know. Maybe a little bit.
I got another show to do, but I'm definitely going to celebrate on that one for sure. Yeah. This is a absolutely beautiful moment. And, I've been a Charger fan my entire life. And for the entire time that I've covered the Chargers, the Chiefs have dominated them, beat them, mercilessly. And to sit here now, to be able to enjoy this moment, to really soak it all in, it's a beautiful thing, man. And I'm going to sit here on social media and enjoy it with all the other Charger fans. It's going to be a great week. This is something that we haven't done in a very, very long time. And the Chargers have eliminated the Chiefs, sending them packing, and they have ended their 2025 season. Let's go, baby.
Perfect way to wrap it up. Put a lid on it. Tie a bow around the top. 4, Kenjon Barner, 10 years in the league, 3 rings. David Droegemeier, one half of the Locked On Daily Chargers podcast, who will be on momentarily with Daniel. Make sure you check them out as well. In-depth look at this game, this team, this season, as they continue their march towards the postseason. I am Pete Fox. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And go Chargers. We'll talk to you guys midweek. Have a good one. See ya.